Welcome to the Audio Inc. Radio podcast, featuring interviews with the biggest names in rock and metal, hosted by Anne Erickson.
Got Inc.? Head to audioinkradio.com and find exclusive artist interviews, Q&As, photos, contests, music news, and more. Whew, that's a lot of ink. It's audioinkradio.com.
This episode is really unique to me and really meaningful for me because the person who I'm interviewing doesn't know it, and I don't think I'll tell him because I don't know. I just don't think I will. But basically, the person who I'm interviewing today was my first major interview years ago when I first started out in radio and in music journalism. I remember I was so nervous to interview this person because I guess I should tell you who it is right away. It's Brad Arnold from Three Doors Down. I was a huge Three Doors Down fan, and I love the band. I think they're great. I think they have solid rock music that's still kind of mainstream, and it appeals to a lot of different people. But I remember back in the day when I was first starting out doing interviews and music journalism and radio and all that stuff, I got this interview with Brad from Three Doors Down. They were playing a local festival, big festival, and I was just really nervous because, as I mentioned, it was my very first, and it was a big deal. I mean, they're one of the biggest bands out there, and it was such a big deal for me. So let me tell you that Brad was amazing. He put me at ease and was so down to earth and just so cool to talk to. I remember he was driving around, and he had pots and pans in his back seat, and we kept hearing them crashing, and he kept saying, "Oh, sorry about that. I've got pots and pans in the back," driving around. And it was just so down to earth and really cool. He really was a very personable person, and I'll never forget that as being one of my first major interviews. And it helped me know that I wanted to do this for as long as I could, for my career, I guess you can say. So for that, I will always be very grateful. And it's amazing to have Brad back on here. He's never been on the podcast before, but it's great to talk with him once again. Years later, he has his first actually ever solo track out called Wicked Man, which I think sounds awesome. His voice on here is so smooth and honey sounding. It's kind of a more acoustic type thing for him than versus what he does with Three Doors Down. So it really brings out his vocals and the fact that he just has that amazing voice. But Wicked Man is out now, and we're going to talk about Wicked Man. Also talk about the 20th anniversary of The Better Life. That's Three Doors Down's debut record that did amazingly well for such a new band on the scene, and it's hard to believe that it's turning 20 years old. Very excited to talk about all of that. I'm Anne Erickson, and another kind of cool thing is that Three Doors Down was one of my first major rock shows. Not my very first, but one of them. I remember I went with my mom because I was pretty young, and I still go to concerts with my mom actually, but we went up to Saginaw, Michigan. I don't remember the name of the arena, but there's some major arena up there. My friends up there in Saginaw will be like, "Anne, how did you not remember?" But some big arena up there, and the lineup was Three Doors Down opening, and I think this was right when Kryptonite was first breaking. Seven Dust was on the bill, which, as you know, I'm a big Seven Dust fan, so that was really cool. I don't think I'd even really heard of them at that point, which is funny to think, but this was pretty early on for me. And the headliner, don't judge, but Creed. I was a big Creed fan back in the day, and I still say that they're great musicians. My Own Prison is an unbelievably great rock record, in my opinion. I really think they kind of created that whole anthemic rock genre. And let's face it, I mean, Mark Tremonti, he's killer on guitar. Scott Stapp, amazing vocals. So I stand by my love for Creed. But that was the bill. And I remember hearing that Three Doors Down was opening and saying to my mom, we have to get there in time to see Three Doors Down. And they were amazing on stage. They were just getting their feet wet. I think that's the term, just starting out. And they put on a great opening set. And I've seen them in concert many times since then. And they always knock it out of the park. And the thing about them is I've met them too in person and stuff. They're really built. They must work out on the road because they are some of the most built rockers that I have ever seen. So props to them for that. You are in for a treat with this episode. And hey, if you don't subscribe to the podcast yet, I want to know what is taking you so long. Do it right now. I promise it's a lot of fun. And I've got some great stuff on the way. So just hit that subscribe button. And also, if you listen on the podcast, I also have a YouTube where I post video interviews and stuff like that. So make sure to subscribe to youtube.com/Audio Inc. Radio. Finally, I don't bite, I promise. So hit me up on social media. Let me know what your favorite episodes have been. And if you want me to get someone on the show, let me know and I'll do my best to hook it up. Facebook, you can find at itsmeanne.com, the website. That's itsmeanne.com. Link up with me on Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson, Instagram at EricksonAnne. Basically, though, if you want to link up on social media, you can just head to itsmeanne.com and you can find all of my socials up there in one neat spot because I could not get all of the same social handles. That's how I roll. But without further ado, it's Brad from Three Doors Down. Let's get inked.
Hey everybody, this is Brad Arnold from the band Three Doors Down, and you are listening to Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio. Hey Anne, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome. Well, thanks for making the time to chat with me. How have you been doing this year, this crazy year?
It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here with you. I've been doing good this year. It has been a crazy year, but I guess it is how you make it, and I've been making the best of it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, obviously, because you have this first solo track out, Wicked Man, which, by the way, sounds awesome. I love this track.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so how long have you wanted to do something solo?
Well, I haven't been like digging at it or anything like that, but I've always had an interest in doing it. And, this song, I didn't even really set out to do it solo. It just kind of, the opportunity presented itself, and it seemed like it wound up just different enough to kind of, to be in its own vein a little bit. And so I just took the opportunity to step out and to put something out that is a little bit different and allows me to kind of go in a little bit different direction.
Right. Do you plan to do maybe a full record of solo stuff?
I don't have any plans to do a full one. Maybe if something comes along and I have another song or two or something that kind of comes to mind, maybe I put those out. Or if I came up with enough songs, I'd be down with it. But it's like somebody I was talking to the other day. I was saying I just kind of write random songs, and I don't know that I'd ever write 11 or 12 that were enough of the same genre to wind up long on one record together.
It could be an eclectic record.
Exactly.
So tell me about the message and meaning behind Wicked Man.
Well, looking at the world right now that we're in, when you look at, I was just talking to some guys out here working at my house today. I said, when you look around at what's going on in the news and you see what's going on in the streets in some of these cities, there's no way that all these people are from those cities and that are out there doing that stuff. And just what's going on in general, it just points so hard to it being someone behind the scenes pulling the strings and at the very least poking it with a stick and just keeping it going, because there are forces in this world that benefit from chaos and from people being divided. And I think that those forces are thriving right now. And because people, I've met enough people over the years that you see that no matter where you are in the world, people are generally good and have good hearts, and think people are just being deceived and led away from that right now. And that's really what this song's talking about.
Wow. No, that's such a good point. And then you released it on your own record label, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Do you plan to sign other artists or maybe release some Three Doors Down stuff on the label?
Well, the label was more an act of necessity. To put the stuff out up on the different platforms, it had to be on a record label. And I already had my publishing company was already called Wild at Heart, just from kind of like doing rights with different people around in Nashville and things like that. You know, it's kind of necessary to have a publishing company. And when JP and I were talking about it the other day, he said, when we gotta make your record company, and I was like, okay. I said, well, my publishing company's Wild at Heart. He said, you want to use that? I said, yep. I said, okay, well, we got a record company.
Oh, that's cool. What do you hope people take away from Wicked Man?
You know, I hope that it raises, I know that everybody's like, well, you know, I hope it raises awareness. But awareness is important because awareness within a situation brings out if you can sometimes just turn on one light and see things from a different angle, it illuminates things in a totally different way and maybe allow somebody to see something from a different angle that they didn't see it before. And, you know, I want people to be aware that that's not necessarily their friend's belief out there. Maybe someone is egging your friend on a little bit, you know, and you know, it's up to us to be unified in this world, and I think the first step of being unified is realizing that there is indeed an enemy, or a villain at least, you know. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. Well, Three Doors Down, it's so hard to believe, but you guys have that 20th anniversary of The Better Life this year. That's so crazy. What do you remember most about that era with Three Doors Down?
Oh my goodness, so much. It's just so much that we've done, and I can so easily let it just be a blur that it seems to be a blur. But you know, if I think about one thing about touring and all the things that we've done, you know, I can see myself riding down the road and so many memories of riding so many miles with these guys, experiencing so many things. But if there's one like steel frame image that pops up in my head when I think about our entire career, it's just looking off the stage at all those faces and all those smiles and all those people that are so happy to be at a concert, and you're getting out there and jamming with them, and I'm ready to see that. I'm ready to see those smiles again. I'm ready for concerts to get back going and to get back out there and see those people's faces again.
Oh, I know, and everyone wants to see you guys too. Do you have any idea when shows might be back, traditional shows?
Well, you know, in a perfect world, which I know we don't live in a perfect world, but in a world that maybe we can get a spare tire on and get rolling down the road again. In a world with a spare tire, hopefully we had a whole kind of from June to October or so planned out for this year. Hopefully we'll just get to pick that all up and move it a calendar year. And because, you know, we're not going to skip our 20th year anniversary. We're going to celebrate it next year and go out and do everything that we can to move those shows around and try to make it to all the shows that we were going to play.
That's great. That's great to hear. So The Better Life, what do you think it is about that record that made it such a hit with fans? When I look at that record, it's like one big single. All the tracks on there did so well.
You know, I think that the door was wide open for them in a way. You know, there was a lot of rock music around, but there was a lot of different genres of rock music around. But I think the door was wide open for just some straight ahead rock and roll to come up through. But at the same time, with enough attention on rock and roll for rock and roll bands to be successful. And you know, it's kind of hard for rock bands right now because rock is a very small market. And I'm really thankful that we came around when we did back in the day. I mean, in 2000, you know, it was a lot of perfect timing. But I tell you what, also, it was a lot of getting out there and working our butts off. We toured so much on that record and just I know, I can't tell you how many mornings we were up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock to go play acoustic in a radio station in whatever town we were in, and then you go and do press all day, and then you go do sound check, and then you go do a meet and greet, and you get up there on the stage and play a show, and you do that 5 or 6 days a week. Man, it was a lot of work, and I think that's another reason it was so blurry, but it was a lot of work, but I don't say that griping. I say that like it was such an adventure. We'd done so much stuff, and but ultimately, I mean, there's no other way to say a reason it was successful other than fans liked it, and they made it successful, and I am so thankful for them.
Yeah. I've actually heard Kryptonite on classic rock stations, which like I find so hard to believe. I'm like, no.
My wife picks on me about it. She's like, you're on classic rock. I said, at least I've been around long enough to be on classic rock.
Right. Yeah, classic rock is like newer, I think, too, than it was back in the day, but...
it has to be.
Right.
I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and so, like, I always grew up listening to whatever my brothers and sisters, grew up listening to, but, like, it seemed like they played the classic rock stations, like, I guess, from back then, comparatively speaking, they played older stuff then than they do now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think that the timestamp has, like, moved up to 15 years or something like that. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll pretend like it did anyway.
Right. So are we going to get any new Three Doors Down music this year or next year?
You know what? I think we were talking about before all this stuff that doing the 20th year anniversary tour and starting to make another record or something. And we don't have anything in the works, but we're definitely down with it. And it just, I guess, kind of however the ball rolls and wherever it takes us is where we'll go, but we're, I will absolutely eventually make another Three Doors Down record.
Cool.
We need to get off our butts.
Well, is there anything else you'd want to add? This has been great.
I can't think of anything, but I surely appreciate it.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's a great track, and I can't wait to get this up and help promote it.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you doing that. I sincerely do, and I appreciate you doing this interview with me today, too.
My pleasure. Thank you, and stay safe, okay? Hopefully we'll see you on the road.
Absolutely. You do the same. Have a great day.
Brad Arnold from Three Doors Down, thank you for being an amazing guest on my show, and he was just as personable, just as down-to-earth and humble as I remember him being in that first interview I had many years ago. I mean, not many, but that really says something because Three Doors Down has become such a hugely successful rock band, and for him to still be that humble and down-to-earth, I think is really cool. I mean, what a friendly guy. So cool to talk with him about that 20th anniversary of The Better Life, which I have to tell you, that record, I wore out that CD. Yes, CD. If you've never heard of it, it's a compact disc. It's a way that some people used to listen to music back in the day. I'm pretty sure you know what a CD is. Some people still buy them. I still buy them. I like them. I like vinyl. I like music in any form. But in any case, I wore out that Better Life CD. I remember one summer in particular, I had a lot of driving to do because I was driving to college and then driving to concerts all the time. And that CD wasn't new by any means. I mean, it had been out for a long time, but I just discovered it and I just loved every single track on there. I mean, I mentioned to Brad, it's like one big single, that CD, because they had so many big hits off it, like Duck and Run, Loser, Kryptonite, and even more. They should be really proud of that album. So I remember listening to it all the time, every single day in my car. And finally, I just wore it out. It said, Anne, we can't do this anymore. My CD just totally wore out and it was unplayable anymore. But that's how much I really enjoyed that record. And I know that a lot of people, it's the kind of album that even if you did not own that album, back when people would buy the full albums and stuff, you still knew every track because you would hear these songs on the radio and the songs were just everywhere. And I also remember seeing Three Doors Down at DTE, which some people know of as Pine Knob. It's a big outdoor amphitheater kind of in the Detroit area. But I remember going to see them headlining DTE, and they only had that one album out, The Better Life. So to be on tour, headlining arenas or amphitheaters, I guess, with one album out, that is really special. You don't hear about that happening hardly at all. So I remember Nickelback being on that tour. I think they were opening, and I remember meeting Chad Kroeger for a minute, and he told me I was a sweetheart or something, and I thought it was really cool. That was back when I was very green, I guess you could say, but just fun and random to think about all these memories from my first shows. I'm sure that you feel that way when you talk about the first concerts that you went to. I mean, it's just a different time, and it's just neat to look back and reflect and look at who I was then and who I am now, which hopefully I'm pretty much the same person. I'm Anne Erickson. It's great to hang out with you here on the podcast. I appreciate you being here. I am online pretty much all the time, so hit me up online if you have a suggestion for a guest or a topic, because sometimes I just go off and talk about random stuff. I would love to hear it. So you can actually email me direct, Anne@audioinkradio.com. Plus, you can just link up with me on Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson, Instagram at Erickson Anne, and Facebook. You can link up by going to the website, itsmeanne.com. That's itsmeanne.com. Itsmeanne.com. It's got all of my socials up there. And finally, if you don't subscribe yet to the podcast, you're kind of on my bad side, but you can make it up to me right now. Just go and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. I definitely appreciate all of your great support. It's awesome to rock with you and hang out with you during this crazy time. Got some great stuff on the way, so you are going to be very excited. One interview in particular, one of the biggest voices in metal music, and it's a guy. He will be a guest towards the end of the month. Yeah, that's something huge to look forward to. One last thing, check out my band Upon Wings at uponwings.com. Female-fronted metal with new stuff on the way that I'm very excited about. Until next time, be safe, God bless, and we'll rock soon.
It's Audio Inc. with Anne.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Get inked online at audioinkradio.com. I'm Anne Erickson for the Audio Inc. Radio Podcast.